If you die alone for just 1 second, you'll be back to bother me. Oh, now go walk out the door. Just turn around now. You're not welcome anymore. What if you're the one who tried to break me? Inside and I crumbled. If I got laid down and die, oh, now I will survive. Yeah, as long as I know how to love, I know I'll be alive. I got all my life to live. I got all my love to give. I will survive. I will survive. Yeah, yeah. Welcome, Mike Simonsen, to the show.
Yeah. That the Cake version of that song?
Dude, that is cake break, baby. I mean, there's always room for cake.
I love it.
Oh, man. Welcome to the Greatness Machine. I am your host, Darius Mirshahzadeh, and we have none other than the one, the only, Mike Simonsen. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
It's so good to have you here. Well, look, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Look, for those of you guys, as you know, if you've seen the show before, we are bringing together change makers who are living their passions to create greatness in the world around them. And Mike is neither short of passion nor greatness. So I'm so proud to have him on the show. A couple things about live streaming. Look, first of all, we're live, right? So don't just sit around, be involved, ask questions, start a watch party. My team's on standby. And we have an author, we have an entrepreneur, we have a data geek, we have a guy that knows real estate inside and out. We have the one, the only Mike Simonsen. Yes, baby, welcome. Yeah, that was a mouthful. How are you doing, dude?
I'm good, thanks. I'm really good. Yeah, working hard, and I'm up in the mountains today, though, getting to work hard from the mountains. So life's pretty good.
Are you in Tahoe?
I am, yeah.
Oh man, that's like the great escape from COVID for everybody.
It really is.
Everyone I know, they're all like hiding up there. I don't know. San Francisco in the summer sucks, you know? I mean, no offense, but.
I don't know. You're down in Texas now. Yeah, Texas in July is pretty rough.
Texas, it's like, what is it? Like those who live in glass houses should not throw rocks. There's one, if you ever want to know if you like Texas or not, come in the summer. And if you still like it, then you should live here. And I did that actually before I moved here. My wife and I was like, look, we got to do it. She's like, what? I'm like, we're going to go spend 3 weeks in August in Austin. And we did that. And I still liked it. And I was like, it's like you got to marry someone at their worst, right? So I married. The summers in Texas are brutal. It's the worst time of year here. It's hot. It's mud. It's not. Austin is central Texas. I don't know how much time you spend here. Have you spent much time?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit of time.
So in the summer, it's not. I mean, central Texas is not as muggy as say like Houston. It's the humidity is not like. I was really worried about the humidity, and especially coming from the Bay, it's a bit humid, but it's really cool and it's temperate weather. But it's just hot, and you just got to go in the water. You just got to be in the pool, So that I just got that right before the show. I just swam laps, so
nice.
I got my pool time in. So well, anyway, man, like I just want to dig in. Like you have so many cool projects going on right now. First and foremost, I mentioned it in the intro, but you're writing a book. You've written a book. Well, like where are you at on that?
Middle of the book. I've written a lot of it, but we're doing the big editing phase where we're ripping out a bunch and reorganizing everything, and taking a few months to do that. And I got a lot of work to do to get it done, but the core is there, and it's the core is taking shape.
So have you? Well, a couple things. So how many words is the book so far?
It's like right now it's about, I think it's 48,000, something like that, words. And so I'm probably going to, write another 12 and then cut it back, something like that.
Yeah. So here's my baby.
Yes.
This thing, I got to get a copy to you. I think I may have sent you a PDF, but I'll get you the real deal. That bad boy was about 48,000. And then I shaved it down to 45,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way I see it is that a lot of people have these like numbers. Oh, your book has to be X number of words, and I'm like, your book has to be not shitty and good.
Yeah, that's right. The book's going to be good. And, it's, like we're not writing this book to like make $1 million or anything like that. I'm sure you do it in the same model as I am, which is I've got some things that have worked really amazingly well. And when I share them with people, they go, you got to tell me this stuff. And so, it feels like I'm just going to write it down and, we'll see how long it takes. But like in some of ways, it's like, the core of what we do, like core of my book could be, 10 pages, like that's all you need to read. You want to you go all the background and do all the details. You can read the rest of it.
Yeah. But I actually think that, obviously there's things like Blink and these different Blinkist and these like Cliff Note type of like apps, but people people like storytelling. That's how we learn, and they like to know the context. And I mean, I could teach you my book in 1 hour, which is probably like, it's probably 20% of the book. I do it. Like I teach, but you're not going to really learn it that well. You're just going to learn the basic concepts,
Right.
So can you, have you named the book, or is that still like up in the air?
Well, Hacking Happiness is the working title, and it's the title of the talk I give, and it encapsulates it pretty well. Unfortunately, there's other books that have been named that, so I'm not sure if I can keep it, or I'm not exactly sure how that works. So I might have to change it. But as of right now, like the website is hackinghappiness.io, and so as of right now, that's the working title.
So if you don't mind, like you and I got into a conversation, I don't know, like about 6 to 8 weeks ago, and I was telling you about my book, and then I realized like literally like our books are cousins, right? Like my book's all around how do you discover, design, roll out, implement, and then measure a core value driven organization, hence a core value life. And yours went to almost the biology of this, right?
That's exactly right. And so mine is, and my story is right. It's an internal story, like yours was with your company, and mine was mine inside me, with the results that happen in things like my company and the people around me. And the biology of it is I focus on 4 neurotransmitters that are the biology of our emotions, and a little bit of the neurology and biology of the mechanisms going on in our body. But the essence is that we can be purposeful with our internal systems, our neurotransmitters, our hormones, to put them in the right place. And when we put them in the right place, the magic happens. Like really magical, amazing things happen. We work harder, we're smarter, we are more charismatic, like all these great things happen. And those four hormones are serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine, and cortisol. So 3 good ones and 1 stress hormone. And so then, my work was like, I was low in my serotonin. I had to fix it. And once I started doing that, and I started recognizing the roles and the fact that we don't have to be slaves to them, we can be purposeful with them. That then all of a sudden the magic started happening for me. And I think it fits in, with your work, because when we are core values driven, we are generating serotonin. When we are paying attention to the team and the needs and the organization, that is an experience of oxytocin, the love, bonding, tribal hormone.
Right.
And when those are high, our performance in all kinds of ways improves. So it's the biology of why it's smart to be core values driven in your companies.
Right. So it's funny. I have a friend, Summer Thoman. I don't know if you know her. She's a Bay Area girl. She does a ton of stuff with core values and strain. She's actually one of the chapter 6 in the book. She co-designed, not in the book, but the actual process, the facilitation around core value rollout that we use. And so, but she's a real smart person. And I remember she said this once I brought her in to do some facilitation, and she said, "Look, Darius, people that have fun together trust each other," which is that whole idea. I think that goes right to the heart of what you're talking about, which is this is hormonal, this is tribal. If I if that exchange of oxytocin happens, that love hormone occurs, and we're more inclined to trust one another because we're in that happiness zone, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny with, oxytocin is an amazing one because the studies show that it's not just like, okay, I trust you more, and that's good, right? But I also I'm better at creative problem solving. So now I have a problem that I'm facing, and when I'm high in oxytocin, I solve it faster and better than when I'm low in oxytocin.
Right.
And so they literally give, test taking creative skills. So, when you're thinking about service organizations where we're problem solving companies, like we literally do our jobs better when we are high in oxytocin.
Right. And so it's funny. I didn't ask you to do this. And then one of the things I do on the show is I have people do yoga laughs. Have you ever done those before?
Do what? Yoda laughs?
Yoga laugh.
Yoga. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
You know what a yoga laugh is?
No, maybe, but go ahead and tell me.
I want to demonstrate it to you, and then if you want to do one, we can do one together. But I do this in one of my forums. I'm in a Gathering Titans forum, and it's every Monday morning. It's accountability forum, and we start off with 3 yoga laughs, and then I have an accountability partner who I call every morning. We do this, and we do 3 of them. And at first time I ever did it was it's a long story, but I was in this heated facilitation at my company, something we were doing, the 5 dysfunctions workshop. And my entire C-level went rogue on the facilitator, like straight up went rogue. I've never had it happen before. They went straight up rogue. Like it was like the whole train came off the tracks. And
Yeah.
it was a bunch of new C-level. I had to pull them aside, and I was like, whoa. I'm CEO of the company. I'm like, hey. And they're just like, this is bullshit. We don't have these problems. And I'm like, listen, I'm just trying to get ahead of it. It's funny. I realized later that there was some things going on behind the scenes, which is why it went off the rails. But when we came back, one of the managers was like, well, why don't we just do a yoga laugh? And I'm like, what the hell is that? And it was like, it's a forced laugh, right? Where you force yourself to laugh as hard as you can. So you've never done this before?
I don't think so.
I actually think we should do one because of the work you're doing, because I think it's a demonstration of the work you do. So I'm going to show you one, and then we can do 3. Are you down for this?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, cool. Okay, cool. So this is a yoga laugh. That's the yoga laugh.
Okay.
You down to do 3? 3 of
Sure.
them? All right.
3.
On the count of 3, we'll do 3. We'll do 1, 2, 3. So my question to you is, what am I high from right now? Because I'm a little high.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I expect that a laugh like that, especially with 2 people going on, like you walk out of that and everybody's smiling, right? Like,
yeah,
so,
right.
I think all of the reward things are probably hitting there right now. So, we're having fun, and that fun and the confidence set, the like it's okay for me to do this. That's an expression of serotonin.
Okay.
Right. And we're doing it together. So there's probably some oxytocin mixed in there. And if we're in the same room, there's definitely that kind of exchange happening. So, we're synchronizing very quickly on our hormones when we're in a room like that. And then there's also probably some dopamine, and dopamine is really powerful, spikes up super quickly. It recedes super quickly, but it's the reason that we like doing things. It's the reason that we like, setting goals. It's why you feel good after your accountability call in the morning, because like, I did this work, and so there's probably all those mixed in there. And we walk out and go, that was fun.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
That's so cool. I want to like do this with Mike Simonsen. Did I pronounce your last name properly? Is it Simonsen?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Do we have a question? Jeez, I think I'm getting blown up over here. Let me see. No, I'm not getting blown up. They're doing something else. Sorry about that. Guys, hey, listen, we are live. So if you do have questions, we have literally a biohacking maniac over here we're really talking about getting into flow state, right? I mean, that's a big part of this, is how do you get into flow state, utilizing your biology and your hormones. And I really want to dig in deeper on that because this is so fascinating to me, which is when we're building core value driven lives or core value driven organizations, like how do we optimize for these ideal performance hormones and performance biology so that it becomes part of who we are, but not only mentally, but physically. So we have a question that just popped up. Do you have any tips to naturally increase serotonin in our bodies?
Oh, yes. So that's why it's called hacking happiness, because a lot of the work is about like, what do we do to go increases? So there's a bunch of ways you can do it. And you've likely heard of all of the things that you do. So for example, journaling. So what happens is the body there's no ability to conceive of joy, even in things like memories or fiction, without the corresponding level of serotonin. So when I remember a good time, my serotonin climbs. Right. So when I like start the day and I write a gratitude journal, like these are the things that I'm happy about, like our serotonin starts climbing. And if you've done any sort of journaling or things like that, and started the day, you probably recognize how it literally changes the trajectory of an entire day when you take the time to sit down and do that. And so, for me, it's like, oh yeah, you're supposed to journal, or, I hear you write this down or write gratitude. But it wasn't until I started paying attention to like, oh, this is what's happening to my serotonin, that I started to do it, right? That I understood, that was my motivation for doing it. So journaling, like writing down, you're capturing your moments of joy is really powerful.
Right.
For serotonin. The serotonin is produced, it turns out 95% of our serotonin is produced and stored in our gut, our stomach, our small intestine.
Wow.
So it responds really well to supplementation. And so you can take an over-the-counter supplement called 5-HTP. The T is tryptophan, which is, a common amino acid, and it's the building block of serotonin. So you can take that. If you've been you end the day and you're like, boy, I was down today, you could take 5-HTP and I literally feel better the next day. It boosts your serotonin production overnight and you have a better day tomorrow. So those are two quick ones.
Wow, that's crazy. And so do you have like a strict or a ongoing nutritional regimen or anything to help manage hormones or
yeah, I mean, so for all of them, I do things to manage my hormones with my diet, my supplementation, my exercise, my mindset, all of those things. And so one of the things though that I do point out to folks is that the body adjusts to the new normal very quickly. Right. So I, for example, don't take 5-HTP every day. It's not like take this every day to feel good tomorrow. It's when I feel like I'm low in serotonin.
Got it.
It's a good boost. And then that way the body isn't used to having extra production in every day. And then you inevitably get hit by down days anyway. So anyway, I try to keep the body in its normal state, and then I take the 5-HTP when I want to boost.
Got it. Interesting. So so the body's striving for homeostasis. It attenuates to whatever supplement you're giving it. It's because it wants to self-regulate, right?
Yep.
And so to your point, you're not using it in a regimen. It's more of ad hoc as needed. Yeah. And you want to keep the body kind of on its toes so that you get that effect each time. That's interesting.
Yeah. And now when I was in the heart of my crisis, personal crisis, business crisis, it was really rough for a while. And when I started really doing this work and then all of a sudden, oh my God, amazing things are happening in my life. And I emerge out and, just, all kinds of great stuff going on, profit and growth and, people around me, everything was working really well. But when I was in the heart of my crisis, I would, took it every day, 5-HTP, for example, every night for a month, I start taking it. And because it was a good time for transition, but you can do that with all the hormones or actually most of them.
And so, how long ago was that you got
That
into
was
that?
2017.
Wow.
That was, yeah, like was big crisis time for me, that forced me to go through and pull all these things that I kind of knew and had, read about over the decades, and pull it in and say, and come up with my plan and my model, my framework for thinking about it.
That's great, man. Mine just happened in 2019.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
fucking imploded.
yeah,
That's like a good old fucking implosion to get you straightened out, like
yeah.
God throws you into the deep end of like the pit of hell and says, swim out of there, motherfucker.
Yeah, we've all been there, like everybody, especially, entrepreneurs, like everybody's been there where you're like, you go and you're like, I don't want to even go to work today. I don't want to pick up like, I know I need more sales, but I don't want to pick up the phone and call a customer. Like, I can't just put a sales plan in place to get out of this. I
Yeah.
gotta fix. So that was my realization. Like, I have to fix my serotonin. I gotta be happy about coming in here every day. I gotta be happy about me. And those are real serotonin experiences.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. This show was born out of that experience for me.
Yeah.
Thankfully so. We got another question. What would you tell someone who has lost their joy and is feeling uninspired during these uncertain times?
So, the first thing that I like to point out is the whole premise of my work is that we can be purposeful with our internal systems to to change this. So the first thing I teach is a mindset concept that I call no coming and going. And I the basics of this, like, the brain and body don't distinguish between like an inbound happiness or an outbound happiness. It's like there's no receiving love that's distinct from giving love. There's only the level of the hormones. So when I'm communicating it out or I'm receiving it, I'm reacting to it. And by reacting to it, I'm thinking about joy. And so my serotonin's climbing. So for me, when I was in that space with no joy, one of the things that I did was I started communicating it to the people around me, giving the love,
Uh,
joy to the people around me. And when you do that, you have to build it in yourself. So, I could sit in a meeting and go, I love you, Darius. Like, I love you. And when I do that, I feel it. So even when, I'm sitting there and I'm feeling joyless, I can take actions. And for me, the hurdle was like, I'm feeling joyless, and therefore I'm not going to go pick up the phone and do more sales. Um, but I could start doing things like sitting there, at the gym and looking at the dude across the gym and go, sending love to that person, right? And you like sit there, you're like, I love you. I love that you're in here. I love, and doing that, like now it builds my serotonin, my oxytocin in me.
yeah.
And what's fascinating about those two hormones is that they last longer. So they like all of a sudden now my whole workout's good, right? Or my whole day's good. So the thing I like to I would say to a person who's sitting there without joy in this crazy time in crisis mode is that the good news is that we can control our biology. We can be purposeful about it. Um, I do also, want to make sure you're like, depression's a real thing, and there's a real reason we have counselors and psychiatrists and all the professionals that work on it, and so it would be too flippant to say, oh, you can just think yourself happy, right? So like, but I think the point is that we can be purposeful with it and then reap the rewards.
Yeah, no. There's like run of the mill stress, and then there's like real mental health where you might be need to take a serotonin uptake inhibitor. You need to go see a psychiatrist. You need to really, you know, like deal with it head on. What's funny is there's such a stigma around that stuff too, right? Where it's
Yeah. You know what's fascinating about, like the serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So they work on your in your brain, and so they build up the reabsorption of the serotonin. So it builds up, it gets blocked, so it builds up there. And so therefore you have more serotonin. It's one way to get more serotonin. You can also get more serotonin by taking 5-HTP. And so like you can do, and so there are certain conditions of depression which aren't treatable. They don't respond to the serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And, in those cases are maybe functions of your cortisol or your oxytocin, like other things going on. And so that like um, there are so a lot of the things that I end up talking about, are useful all the way across the board.
Yeah, this is probably, I'm about to jump down the rabbit hole, but there's like a lot of stuff around MDMA therapy right now, and people
Yeah.
doing like journeying with plant medicine, to try to like tap into the subconscious and kind of work through some of these old knots and issues to then kind of I mean that it's amazing. The mind is so amazing, right? And to your point, like what might work for one person may not work for another, because it's the human brain is probably the most intricate machine on earth, right?
Yeah.
And it's organic. I mean, it's
Yeah.
amazing, man.
And
So
the drug thing is really fascinating. Where there are some drugs that work on your dopamine system, like
right,
cocaine,
right,
and so it spikes up. It's this amazing high, crashes down, and that's the experience of dopamine. The half-life of dopamine is really fast, like minutes in your body. Um, the psychedelics work on your serotonin system,
right.
and so when at the end of the psychedelic, you still retain the joy, the recollection of the and so the interesting one is the dopamine ones are addictive, the serotonin ones are not addictive.
Right, right.
And so it's a fascinating thing, and there's lots of people studying those things, and I can't claim to be an expert, but it's those are observations as I've been doing the work, all this work on what's the difference between those kinds of drugs.
Yeah, yeah. That's really interesting, and there's and now that there's a lot of this, like, I don't want to say red tape, but there's a pretty big movement around taking the positive effects of psychedelics and what they can do. The book that Michael Pollan wrote, what was it, Change Your Mind?
Yep.
That came out, and that was an interesting read. I read part of it and was like, this is cool when you start to look at the history of the clinical like study of psychedelics and how then in the 70s, when the hippie movement got a lot of traction, they basically shut it down. But now I know Oakland just legalized psychedelics again. And I think it's good, man, because I do think like, I have a lot of friends who have cured themselves with plant medicine and like dealt with a lot of trauma. And a lot of them, it's been, I've seen it with my own eyes where they've gone from people that were struggling to being their best selves, like better than I've ever seen them over 20 years of knowing them. So, but what I love what you're talking about and in your book is looking at the biology of this from a performance standpoint. And is this just in general, or are you actually going and saying in the workplace for performance from a company standpoint? What's the lens by which you're looking at this?
So, well, my personal development was very much tied with myself and my company, right? So, I'm in crisis mode. Very quickly, the company becomes in crisis mode,
Sure.
and so, all of a sudden we're out of cash, and like all of the things, um, and so when I started my work, I'm in my forum, my EO forum, and the I went from crisis to like, hey, things are working really well, and the forum's like, what are you doing? Like, what is going on? And one of the things I show in the book and in one of my talks is a profit level for my company. My company is now 14 years old. Profit was fine, up and down. It's fine. It's and then 2017 happens. It's low, and then 2018, the company's profit was 10 times higher than it had ever been. I didn't change.
Wow.
I didn't change my team. We didn't change a product. I
Wow.
only changed inside myself, and all of the good things happen. And so it's remarkable. And then 2019 was amazing growth, and that's and so there are real tangible business benefits from doing the internal change. And in 2018, I didn't even tell my team what I was doing. Yeah, I didn't tell them until the end of the year of 2018, and like, here's some stuff I've been working on. And they go, well, we could tell, So yeah, so real tangible business results. No matter what your business, whether you're working, whether you're creative, whatever your results are, but it is like all of the good things of success flow when you have it, when you're in that state.
Do you do, is there any like meditation that you do? Is that part of this at
Yeah.
all? What,
So yes.
walk me through that.
So a meditative practice has a ton of benefits. I typically refer to it so I do TM, transcendental meditation, and there's any number of the sort of big known ones will have been shown to have similar effects, some more than others. But so like Vipassana, Buddhist loving kindness. The loving kindness one has shown to have the most powerful biological impact.
Metta,
Um,
that's metta, right?
yeah, that's similar. Meta. Yeah, and this is where you are giving compassion and love to the self, to people around you, to the whole world, even to people that want to do you harm. And the real high skilled meditators of and loving kindness um, can, when they do them in MRI scans, they flip on the brain in gamma waves, which are the gamma waves are the same experience like when you solve a puzzle and you get that moment of like, wow, like yay, right? That's your brain switching into gamma wave mode. And so a practiced meditation meditator will do that when they are giving love. And what's happening is we drop the cortisol way down. The cortisol is the stress, anger, fear, and the serotonin, the oxytocin rise. So there's a bunch of other things that happen, like so your adrenal gland takes in cholesterol and outputs cortisol and testosterone.
Wow.
So when you're in constant stress mode, your testosterone falls because you're producing cortisol all the time.
Right.
So then meditation, you drop your sort of basal level cortisol, your normal levels. You start the day lower, you go mid-afternoon, you drop it down. And that lets things like the serotonin rise, the testosterone rise, all the other good ones rise in this place. And for women, it's same thing happens with the thyroid. So like stress mode, the good stuff coming out of the thyroid fail. And so when we meditate, it comes up. So, meditation was absolutely part of my transition, like
Yeah.
starting a meditation practice.
Yeah. I started a meditation practice last April, and it's
Oh, good.
life. I mean, it's the number one thing I did last year, and I fell in love with it. And so I was like, there's no way you're not doing that if you're doing this, because
Yeah.
it's funny, like, because what we're talking about here is how you are. What's the quote? It's like how you are anywhere is how you are everywhere, right?
Uh-huh.
And so it's like by moderating and your hormones, I think people completely like this idea that I think hormones have the most power in your health out of anything else. Like
Yeah.
weight gain, weight loss. If you look at people that have obesity issues, it always affects them hormonally, right? And so we look at these different diseases that are being caused, and I truly believe that your hormone levels become this conduit for disease or for wellness.
For
Right?
sure. And so many, like all of our, like it's like 8 of the top 10 diseases in America are essentially stress diseases.
Right.
They're all related. And so, so having elevated cortisol. Cortisol is catabolic. It breaks down your muscles. So it breaks down your heart muscles, right? Like, it causes to store body fat, right? So, the action, so literally the like meditation part of losing weight, right? So dropping those out of this. So all of the downstream things are functions of, really of, so what happens is the modern world has our stress, has our cortisol elevated all the time, right?
Right.
Cortisol is made for run from the lion. You want to activate the muscles for a few minutes. You want to like, you're not looking around, you're only looking straight ahead. It's tunnel vision. It's run as fast as you can for a short period of time. And then you calm back down. But now it's like you got mortgage payments, you got to make payroll, you got traffic, the phone is buzzing. So like everything around us is stimulating our cortisol all the time. And so we have to be purposeful in bringing our cortisol down. And so it's meditation, it's journaling, it is like expressing love, in meetings and things like that. All of that are part of the system.
Yeah. So two things, guys. We have time for probably one more question. So Joshua Abramson, right? Do you know him? He's a
Yeah.
guy. I love you. I love you. Anyway, when you were saying the thing about sitting in the gym and the saying "I love you," it reminded me of Joshua, who's all about the "I love you" movement. But it's true. And so my book, The Core Value Equation, essentially is that the words we choose become the decisions we make. The decisions we make become the actions we take. The actions we take become the results in our life. And the whole premise of the core value equation is that when we choose our core values to become the language of our life, they become the words we choose. So, and you're a data guy, and I'm sure you have a strong sense of math. There's the law of transitive equality, which is, if core values equal words and words equal decisions equals actions equal results, then your core values equal your results, right? So using what you said, if I'm saying love, if I'm doing this meta practice to myself and to those around me, that becomes my life. That becomes what ends up being around me, right? This is, and a lot of people who are, I think, strategic thinkers or logic brain are like, what is this bullshit these two fucking guys are talking about, right? It sounds like complete bullshit, right?
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of folks who are dopamine focused, and so they put in action plans, and so if you're a lot of sales guys are this way, right? Like pure sales guys are like, you give me a goal and I'll hit the goal, right? And that's a dopamine focused thing. So there are a lot of people who are like really rich and totally miserable.
Right. Totally. Yeah. I know something.
And so my point is that like we get in this goal setting. It's got to be measurable and it's got to be accountable, and you got to have so or we got to set a BHAG and it's a super high goal, and then we'd set these goals and then we miss them, or they're arbitrarily high, and so now we miss. We're gonna do 1 million new sales, and like first quarter we do like 80K, or like now all year long we're losers. We're like reinforcing failure message.
Yeah.
And so the trap we fall into is a dopamine cortisol trap. We are told all the time, you got to set goals, it's got to be measurable, it's got to be accountable, and it's fine. But my point is that if we first have the serotonin, oxytocin, then adding the dopamine on top is rocket fuel. So now when you miss the goal, now you fall back into confidence and joy and love. You don't, if those aren't there, and you're running for the goal and it's good, you get some cash, and then you miss the goal and you fall back down, now you got nothing. Right. So now you're in this so it becomes uninspired. You're like, what the hell am I even doing this for? Right. Like I keep running after these things and I hate it here. Like that's when you're in this dopamine cortisol cycle. And I was there for years and I didn't know it.
Yeah, me too, man. Yeah. So it's so funny. Like what I tell people is core values are a foundation for strategy and execution. And that's literally what I just pictured when you said that, because strategy and execution are dopamine, cortisol moments.
Yes.
And core values and purpose are all serotonin, right? And
that's exactly right. That's
so
exactly right.
they're
Purposefulness
right.
is, yeah, and so, you know, stating our company's purpose is an excellent way to generate. So my point, one of the things I like to point out is that what matters is actually the serotonin rather than the purpose itself. Like what matters is that we're doing the things to generate serotonin. Stating a purpose is a really good way to do it. But some companies aren't necessarily purposeful, like, oh, we're a tire shop, man, you know, like, so how do you state a purpose for that? Well, maybe focusing on purposefulness isn't, core values is a good way. But doing other things to focus on serotonin, joy and fun, confidence, then like we can feel purposeful about our work.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. You know, it's funny though. My a mentor of mine, you know, Rick Sapio.
I don't.
He's the chair. He founded Gathering of Titans, which is the alumni group for Birthing Giants. And he and I were talking. He said, and there's a company, I forget the name of it, but it was a used car lot that became hardcore core value driven used car lot.
Yeah.
And they got bought for $160 million, and it was one lot that did 1,000 units a month, because the company just loved this what you're talking about, this purpose driven model. And they had a really good strategic model that came out of it, where they bought like the three most purchased cars in America, and they became really good and it was super profitable. But anyway, you just made me think about that. You're like, you know, maybe not, right? What if you are the purpose driven, values driven tire shop, where people come in there, they're like so pumped to get their tires changed by you. I firmly believe people want to experience joy, you know. Life is hard, you know.
Yeah, and I think on the core value side, you know, you look at a lot of systems that they say, well, let's get our core values, we're going to get alignment on our purpose, and then we're going to go like do these plans and dopamine. And those work in organizations where the leader is sort of already, you know, charismatic, serotonin filled, you know, and then it's very easy to go like, okay, here's our core values, and then we're going to put the dopamine plans on top. When they fail is when maybe the leader isn't that person, right. And so we end up falling into like the thing we can go do most easily is the dopamine cortisol cycle. And then they fail to gain traction. They fail to really, you know, and so the core values of the purpose parts of the exercise get short attention. They're like, oh yeah, we did that the first week, you know, one weekend, that's so we end up, you know, losing a lot of that, the power that could happen there.
Yeah, well, my take on it, it's the most valuable asset you have in your organization. And to your point, when it's a cortisol dopamine mentality, then it's not going to, you're like literally like, it's like, here, I have this super valuable thing. I'm going to do zero with it. I'm just going to take this gold brick and I'm going to go use it as a door stopper in my house. Right.
Right. That's right.
That's the way I see it.
You'll see things like high turnover, and, you know, like you got, you know, our sales are hitting our numbers, but then they don't, or like, you know, you get those kinds of things that are symptoms of like, you can go drive to big numbers and be perfectly miserable about it.
Yeah. And look, at the end of the day, everybody wants to be a part of something greater than themselves.
Yeah.
No matter what anyone says, if you can build an organization, I don't care if it's governmental, for-profit, non-profit, the Boy Scouts, soccer team, kids soccer team, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be part of something greater than themselves. And if you can build an environment that does that and creates serotonin, oxytocin exchanging, my book is, you're going to kick everyone's ass.
That's right. That's right. The feeling of like, this is bigger than me, that is serotonin, right? These people are awesome. That is oxytocin. Yeah. And so like what they want to feel is serotonin and oxytocin. And so sometimes when we are like purposeful with the hormone, then we feel purposeful. Like we, like, you know, like when we can adjust the biology first and get the emotion out of it second.
Yeah. And look, I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm sitting here and I'm full of serotonin and oxytocin right now.
Me too, man. I love it. I mean, it's terrific.
Dude, I was sending you love vibes. I'm like, man, I fucking love Mike. This is awesome.
Love you, man.
I love you, man. I'm telling you, dude, I feel like I literally just felt that when you said that, dude.
Oh, that's great.
This has really been awesome. Any parting thoughts, anything that you want to, leave the guests, our audience with, excuse me, and where can we find you?
Well, you can, I have some handful of videos and things at hackinghappiness.io if you want to follow up, and there's a little form to be notified when the book is published. So you can sign up there, the hackinghappiness.io. And then, yeah, I mean, and I'm also, by the way, if people have questions or they want to talk more, I'm always happy to talk about stuff with folks. A lot of people have their own oh, I do this, or what do you think about that technique? And I like actually hearing their stories, or and because I capture them in our writing too. So always happy to connect with folks more.
Cool. First of all, man, so much gratitude. This was so fun. I really
appreciate it.
I really learned a lot from you, and I can't wait till your book is out. And we're going to be a big supporter of the book. So I'm really, really pumped for you, man. This has been really good.
Thank you.
So guys, thank you so much for joining us. Follow us on @TheRealDariusM on Facebook, or you can go to my website, www.therealdarius.com. Check us out on all the social media. Share this. Start watch parties. This type of stuff is the stuff people need to learn. And I'm telling you, selfishly, when I started this show, it was because I wanted to have, I wanted to have a reason to bug guys like Mike to spend an hour and teach me stuff so that you all could learn it too. And this is I'm just being selfish. I'm I don't, 10 people watch the show? I don't care. Million? I don't care. I got to learn. So good. Hey guys, share it, start watch parties, follow us. We got way more of this coming. And thank you so much, Mike. This is really awesome.
It was fabulous. Thanks, man.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. See you later.